For portions of Cook County, Lake County, Illinois. For those of you in Northwest Indiana, Lake and Porter, your advisory is set to expire at 9 p.m. this evening. Here's a look at current visibilities. Nothing that's really going to be impacting your afternoon or evening commute home at this time. But again, we could be seeing that changing going into this evening and tonight. Now, looking ahead to tomorrow, we do have a risk of strong to severe thunderstorms. I'll have the timing coming up in just a bit.
Thanks for that, Emily. Well, the Bears just made a huge move.
DJ Moore is headed to the Bills. Cassie Carlson is here. What all this means, and I'm sure a lot of reaction out there to this.
Yeah, a lot of reaction because DJ Moore has been a big part of this Bears roster over the last 3 seasons. Now he is heading to the Buffalo Bills along with the 2026 fifth-round pick, and in return, the Bears are going to get a 2026 second-round pick. And it just really doesn't come as a surprise because of the cap space that the Bears needed to free up. And DJ Moore was going to be their highest-paid player on the roster next year. And this is coming off a year where he had his lowest production of his career because of how deep that wide receiver room was. You look at the guys in that room with Rome Odunze, with Luther Burden, who was a second-round pick drafted by Ben Johnson, and DJ Moore being the highest-paid player no longer made sense to keep him. And with this move, they are going to free up $16.5 million in cap space that allows them to make a lot more moves, which are necessary to fill other positions. When the new league year opens next Wednesday, they have to address a ton of positions. Drew Dahlman just retired. He's their center. They could use a center. They could use a left tackle. They could use an edge rusher. They could use a safety. They could use a linebacker. So a lot of moves and positions that they still need to fill. This frees up that money.
All right. What a day. Like you said, not so much a surprise, but necessarily knowing maybe that it was going to be the Bills that would be picking him up. Was that a surprise?
I think the team where he landed at is a bit of a surprise. No one knew where he was going to go in particular. He was tied to trade talks with potentially going to Vegas to bring Max Crosby to Chicago. But with the Bills and where DJ Moore is going, the Bills can really use a wide receiver one, and they're going to get that in with Josh Allen as their MVP quarterback. They're continuously going to the playoffs. They have a new head coach in Joe Brady, who is offensive coordinator in Carolina, and that's when DJ Moore was back in North Carolina and had his most productive years. And so he's going to be back with his OC who knows how to use him well, and the Bears are going to have Rome Odunze hopefully step up as their wide receiver one. He's going into year 3, coming off a down year where he had some injuries, and they're going to be counting on him as a former top 10 pick to step up in his place, knowing that this offense, as Caleb Williams pointed out on Max Crosby's podcast, they want to be the #1 offense in the league next year.
DJ Moore had a lot of viral moments, a lot of memorable moments. How do you think he'll be remembered here in Chicago? I know so many are thanking him for his years on the team and what he's done.
Well, we can all just look back to this past season and 2 touchdowns that he had against the Packers. One being week 16. We all remember the walk-off touchdown in overtime in the end zone where he had the great one-liner after it to end the game, and then the locker room celebration where he had the cheese grater hat on, part of it that made it go viral and sell out, and then the go-ahead touchdown against the Packers in the wild card round, which ended up sending Green Bay packing. There's a lot of moments that people will remember DJ Moore for. He spent 3 seasons here, didn't have quite the same chemistry with Caleb Williams that he did with Justin Fields, and now he'll have an opportunity to go be a perennial playoff team in Buffalo.
Okay.
Yeah. Never easy to say goodbye to someone who's been such an integral part of a team and of a unit.
Definitely.
Thank you so much. Another news today, the Trump administration also making its own roster change. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem is out. Illinois Congresswoman Robin Kelly says good riddance. Kelly was leading impeachment efforts against Noem and released this statement, quote, "She was an incompetent leader who enriched her friends and unleashed her Gestapo agents with no regard for the law or human life. It is time for her to go home and never enter public service or adopt a dog again," unquote. Mike Emanuel is on Capitol Hill with more reaction.
That has been extremely effective.
Ask you to run these advertisements, is that right?
We had that conversation, yes.
Days after she was grilled on Capitol Hill about her management of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem is no longer the secretary. The tipping point stemming from her testimony claiming President Trump approved a $220 million ad campaign for DHS, but the president says he not only didn't authorize the spending, he didn't know about the ads.
It is obvious that the deal is not getting done and the job is not being done. He will make the switch. He's a developer. He knows how to get stuff done. And he's in the middle of a war, and he really cannot allow his administration to be taken off course by sideshows like this.
The former South Dakota congresswoman and governor has led DHS since President Trump began his second term. Her tenure marked by 2 deadly Minnesota shootings, a closed border immigration policy, and the seizure of millions of pounds of illegal drugs.
The safety and security of the American public is too important for this. Somebody needs to be in the position as Secretary of Homeland Security to do the work without the distractions.
And that somebody is Oklahoma Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, who's been tapped to take Noem's place.
It's just, pretty humbling when you start thinking about it. A little kid from Westville, Oklahoma, gets to serve in the president's cabinet. That's pretty neat.
But the switch-up not satisfying critics of Noem and the Trump agenda.
A change in personnel is not sufficient. We need a change in policy. And that has to be bold, dramatic, transformational, and meaningful.
Senator Mullen is expected to take over the role on March 31st if confirmed, and Noem will be shifted to another project within the administration. In Washington, Mike Emanuel, Fox News.
Here's something else people are talking about today. Hammond police are clearing up a few details. It started after a social media post claimed a sniper was shooting at cars, but it really was just a kid with a BB gun. Last night, drivers on Holman Avenue between 143rd and Wynn reported their windows got hit. Police say a young man admitted to firing that BB gun. Charges are still on the table. It all depends if the car owners want to press charges. This one caught a lot of attention today, too, and it took a few hours to sort this out. A jackknife semi, look at that, left hanging off the Eisenhower Expressway. It's off the road now. The truck flipped off an overpass around 3 this morning at St. Charles Road. Reports say the driver lost control. Thank goodness nobody got hurt.
A 75-year-old pilot from Mount Prospect was killed Wednesday night after his small plane went down in Deerfield. The pilot was the only person on board. Some townhomes were damaged, but no injuries were reported. The FAA and NTSB now investigating. The CTA has 2 weeks to turn in a new safety plan to the feds.
This is all about keeping you safe after what's been happening lately. You remember there have been several violent situations in the last year.
Brett Bagansky is live in the loop with the latest on this story. Brett?
And we reached out to the CTA for an on-camera interview with their interim president about what they plan to release to the federal government in terms of safety. Now, the CTA told us they couldn't grant us their request for an on-camera interview, but they did say they do plan on submitting a new safety plan before that deadline, which comes in about 2 weeks. And they are still at risk of losing $50 million. What exactly is in that plan that they plan to submit? Well, we still don't know at this time. But you may remember it was last December the Federal Transit Administration told the CTA to submit a new safety plan since the agency said the CTA's plan failed to set, as they put it, monthly reduction targets for assaults over the next 6 months. And we have reported on some high-profile incidents on the CTA in recent months. Just one example, in February, a man got stabbed in the face on the Green Line. In January, there was a fatal stabbing on the Blue Line where the victim was sleeping. And then in November, a woman was lit on fire on the Blue Line. She ended up surviving and spent months in the hospital with severe burns. Now, you're going to hear from FTA Administrator Mark Molinaro of what he told us last December of what they want to see from the CTA.
The state and the city ought to be investing both in prevention, intervention, and enforcement tools to support CTA and develop a strategy that protects workers and protects the riders of the system. And if they can develop such a plan that through their submission reduces month on month, significantly reduces assaults against workers and riders, then the action of withholding dollars may not be necessary.
So back in December, the CTA added 120 police officers to patrol both trains and buses. That was up from the previous 77 officers that were on patrol in the previous months. They also added the K-9 patrols, the private security guards, but the federal government said that wasn't enough. So now we wait and see. That deadline, once again, coming up in 2 weeks. We're live in the loop tonight. Brett Bagansky, Fox Chicago.
All right, Brett, thank you. Well, people living by the Obama Center in Woodlawn are dealing with higher rents or having to move out. Over at Cheney Bragg's Apartments, that's near 65th and Stony, families formed a union to push back. They're facing a buyer from California who's looking to gut or tear down the building, which they say could mean higher rents for everyone. Some tenants were offered $2,000, they say, to leave even after years in the building. Neighbors and local leaders are asking the city to keep housing affordable.
I want to stay right where I'm at. I don't want to be forced out. I don't want to be told I have to leave. I want to be able to stay. I want to be able to let my daughter stay here, and then I want her to grow up in the same building I grew up in.
Residents say this place was once owned by a nonprofit focused on community stability, making sure families had housing they could afford.
A van crashes into a Garfield Park liquor store. This is the 200 block of North Pulaski. There were reports of injuries. However, the number of people hurt and the extent of those injuries remains unknown. That crash happened just before 1:30 this afternoon. Chicago police are telling businesses to watch out after a wave of break-ins hit the south and southwest sides overnight.
Leslie Moreno talked to a business in Archer Heights that got hit. Leslie?
Hey guys, good evening. Yeah, one of those businesses is Angelo Stuffed Pizza here behind me. They've been a staple in this community for over 30 years now. If you look closely there, you can see that the shop is closed. The business owner here says thieves smashed their way through those front doors, got in and took thousands of dollars. He even captured one of the thieves on his downstairs surveillance camera. Police say this was a coordinated smash and grab burglary spree that unfolded early Wednesday morning between 2:30 and 4:30 a.m. 4 suspects went from neighborhood to neighborhood, breaking the glass doors and windows of 6 businesses to get inside. The group got away with cash, registers, and merchandise. The owner of Angelo Stuffed Pizza says thieves stole nearly $6,000. A big chunk of that was their rent money, not to mention all the damage and repairs they're now left with.
Took our registers. They took some cameras that we use for our photos for our social media, laptops. They were able to get downstairs into the office, broke some doors, and took some money from the safe there. So we had our rent money downstairs, so they took our rent money, close to $5,000 altogether, like $5,500 somewhere on there. As you can see, there's damage to our property, our tables, our tile. The video surveillance shows that they were just throwing things and, running around, jumping over counters. And
nobody is in custody as of this evening. Police, however, are looking for a black Infiniti sedan that was used as the getaway car. They're also encouraging people who live here in the area, as well as businesses, to take a look at their cameras and call police if they notice anything strange. For now, we're live here in Archer Heights. Les Moreno, Fox, Chicago.
Still to come, the pack is sticking together.
3 of Chicago's largest animal welfare groups are standing together, backing the mayor's latest appointment.
And debate over AI in schools. A new school is opening in Chicago that relies on artificial intelligence. What it could mean for the future of teaching.
The first State Department charter flight arrives in the U.S. as the administration works to get Americans out of the Middle East. I'm Caroline Shively in Washington. I'll have the latest coming up.
schools pay the price.
Columbia College has a new president, and it's an historic one. Dr. Shante Bolton is the 11th president in 135 years. She's the first woman of color and the first woman in almost 90 years to lead the school. And it kind of hits different, right, during Women's History Month.
AI is moving fast, and it's not just changing jobs, it's popping up in schools as well.
Teachers and students are trying to figure out what to do with it. Casey Cronus is downtown showing how schools are dealing with all this right now. Casey?
That's right. Integrating artificial intelligence into schools is raising questions about accuracy, privacy, and traditional learning. Proponents say it's the way of the future, but critics argue it could hinder critical thinking and social development. Here in Lakeshore East, the former GEMS Academy will soon be home to Alpha School for grades pre-K through 8. Launched in Texas in 2014, the private school replaces traditional teachers with human guides and AI tutors. The school already operates in other cities, including Austin and Miami. The model focuses on 2 hours of education per day, taught by AI. The rest of the day shifts into life skills and leadership workshops, financial literacy courses, and physical activity.
Our AI tutor is able to very precisely pinpoint where a student is academically and then help put them into the lessons that are at their pace and their level and coach them. I think a lot of people are nervous and wary about what artificial intelligence looks like in education, and the Alpha model is really showing that artificial intelligence is allowing us to raise human intelligence both academically but also by providing more time for that human connection.
The approach comes with a hefty price tag. In Chicago, tuition will cost $55,000 a year when it opens this fall. Using AI in schools does not come without controversy. An associate professor of college education at DePaul University shares why.
In these schools, it's the computer that's delivering the instruction. The computer does not think without AI is thinking. No, it's not. It's algorithm. Those providers are claiming that these allow very instant feedback and adaptive system to adapt to individual kids' needs. But the problem, as we all know, AI models still have serious problems. So these teaching materials, they are not necessarily accurate.
Some public school districts across the nation have already started incorporating AI into learning, including CPS, which launched a guidebook for students and staff with a focus on using AI to help bolster lesson plans, for example. Reporting live in Lakeshore East, Casey Cronus, Fox Chicago.
Thank you, Casey. All right, checking back outside. And yeah, the low clouds are still doing their thing. They're like... hanging on.
Yes, they are.
Get out of here, right?
Stop.
Bring us back that sunshine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This morning on the news show, right? You could see the clouds were kind of just right in between the buildings, and it was
so
pretty.
cool.
It was hovering over. Yeah.
It's always so cool when you can see a scene like that. So we do have some fog that's coming in basically right off of the lake. So our lakefront communities from Lake County, Illinois, down to Lake County, Indiana, rounding the lake over into Porter County as well. We have that dense fog advisory that's remaining in effect through 6 a.m. tomorrow for our northeastern Illinois counties. For those of you in northwest Indiana, that's going to be lasting until 9 p.m. Temperatures ranging from 40s at the lakefront to mid to upper 50s in some inland locations. We're up to 57 degrees right now in Rensselaer. For tonight, temperatures only dropping down to the lower 40s. Fog is once again going to be an issue. And then tomorrow, we're going to have a couple rounds of showers and thunderstorms. Some of those may end up becoming strong, maybe even severe if things come together just right during the afternoon into the evening hours. But temperatures look great. We're going to be pretty close to 70, 64, and then dropping into the 50s on Saturday afternoon. We'll have showers, a couple thunderstorms in the morning. After that, we're drying things out for the rest of the weekend. Back to you.
All right, thank you. Coming up after the break, Capital One announcing a new wave of layoffs in Illinois.
And the Trump administration is slapped with a multi-billion-dollar setback. Come on back.
These orange days.
The first group of Americans evacuated by the State Department landed at Dulles Airport in D.C. this afternoon.
Those evacuations come as the Middle East becomes increasingly unstable and unpredictable, with attacks of one form or another hitting nearly every country in that region. Caroline Shively reports from Washington.
The State Department is working to get Americans out as the violence escalates across the Middle East. The sky lit up by airstrikes in Tehran as the U.S. and Israeli bombing campaign continues for a sixth day. The combined nation's overwhelming air superiority taking out Iranian aircraft on the ground and in the skies. Iran's foreign minister says there are no ongoing talks to end the fighting.
We don't see any reason why we should negotiate with the U.S. when we negotiated with them twice, and every time they attacked us at the middle of negotiations.
Israel is also hammering Lebanon, home to Iran-backed Hezbollah. Tanks could be seen driving across the border as thousands pack the streets trying to flee Beirut's southern suburbs. Iran's neighbors are also taking hits. Azerbaijan blames Iran for drone attacks near an airport and a school. And Iraqis in Erbil were caught in the crossfire after a strike in the middle of the night.
I woke up around 2:45 a.m. to one of the loudest bangs I've ever heard of in my life.
The State Department is lending assistance to get Americans out of the Middle East. The first charter flight landing this afternoon in Virginia. Others are getting out however they can.
The longer I was there, the more uneasy I kind of felt. I said I have to buy whatever ticket I can.
Meanwhile, President Trump wants to say in the selection of Iran's next leader, calling the late Ayatollah's son, believed to be a strong candidate to replace him, an unacceptable option. In Washington, Caroline Shively, Fox Chicago.
The situation in Iran has hit Wall Street for sure today. The Dow fell 1,000 points after oil shot up to its highest price since last summer. S&P 500 was down just over 1%. The Nasdaq dropped about the same. The Trump administration just took a hit. We're talking $130 billion.
A federal judge has ordered the administration to begin refunding businesses for those tariffs. More than 2,000 companies have filed lawsuits seeking refunds, according to several reports, and many of them are big businesses such as Costco and FedEx, looking to benefit from the tariff challenges initiated by small businesses. The federal judge's order comes after the Supreme Court invalidated some of Trump's tariff powers last month. The order directs U.S. Customs and Border Protection to begin recalculating duties importers paid and to determine exactly how much money needs to be returned. A private conference will be held tomorrow with the federal judge to hash out the refund process.
Capital One is letting go of over 1,100 workers at the old Discovery headquarters in River Woods. That's according to the Tribune. This is the second round of layoffs since the credit card giants merged last year.
An awkward moment for McDonald's CEO has sparked an online burger war.
Awkward is an understatement. CEOs recording themselves eating, and now one chain, I should say, is looking to pay someone $100,000 to join in all of this. Yeah, I'll get it together and we'll explain when we come back.
Say what?
to rake in campaign cash.
All right, well, Terrence is a hater on this one, but I'll carry one for us, all right? Attention Swifties, and I am one of them, and I can say it loud and proud.
There you go.
Our fandom name is now enshrined. Dictionary.com is recognizing Swiftie as a word, a noun, Terrence, defined as a fan of the music of Taylor Swift. The singer trademarked the word back in 2017.
Now,
I like that.
is it a word for the fans or the stans? See, I feel like it's a word for the stans. You know what the stans is? Eminem came up with the song in like the 2000s.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
About Stan. That's where, and people use that to describe fans who just are a little obsessive. Now, that's not you.
I'm not.
You had to say that.
I'm a normal Swiftie.
Yeah, that is not you. But some others,
fan.
I'm just throwing that out there. All right, carry on, Tia.
Okay, well, here's something that might be a strong memory from your childhood. People on Reddit are sharing the books they sparked their love, I should say, their love of reading. Okay, so it could be an absolute classic you read in school that made you see the world in a whole different light. Or maybe it was a novel that you picked out from the bookstore because you were just drawn to the cover. Well, it ended up changing your life. You guys have one of those? Many readers remember childhood favorites that got them hooked on reading, like Goodnight Moon or The Very Hungry Caterpillar. Others remember books that picked up later in life, to something like To Kill a Mockingbird or The Great Gatsby, as being transformative.
I liked Junie B. Jones because she was a troublemaker.
Oh, I did like her.
But I turned out not to be a troublemaker, so.
I like the Best Friends Club books. Remember
those?
those?
Were cute. Yeah.
The outsides would be cute with little dogs.
As a kid, Bernstein Bears.
Oh, that's good.
We had every copy of that. And then grown-up me, well, high school me, The Color Purple.
Oh, that's a good one.
Nice.
Do you guys remember A Wrinkle in Time? They ended up making a movie out of it.
I've only seen the movie. I haven't read the book.
I loved the book when I was a kid. I think I read that, I don't know how many times. Yeah,
I spark noted that one.
The last season of Stranger Things was kind of based off A Wrinkle in
that's
Time.
cool.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about going back to read the classics just for kicks, like like Wuthering Heights, and that's a movie now, or a Moby Dick?
Okay.
Have you read Moby Dick?
I have not.
I never read.
I think I spark noted that one as well.
I really kind of didn't read it in school either. I used Spark. I used Cliff Notes.
Remember those?
The yellow.
I had those too. But there's something else now.
Hi, Miss Wilson.
Taken over of Cliff Notes.
ChatGPT.
Yeah,
there's that too.
All right. What's your favorite fast food burger?
Fast food. So we're talking.
Shake Shack.
Oh, that's a good one. What a burger.
Ooh, no, Five Guys.
Yeah.
Five Guys.
Yeah, that's a good
Well,
one.
the internet is up in arms over these viral videos. Have you seen them? It's sort of a burger war. It all started with the video of the McDonald's CEO went viral. He was seen taking a very small bite of his burger to introduce it. I forget. I think it's called like the Big Arch.
Yes. Okay.
Burger King and Wendy's then was like, okay, we in this too. They took multiple bites though. But you know, Wendy's doesn't just join a petty fight. Wendy's always wins. They always win.
So what's happening? Like it's just become a thing now?
Because the McDonald's, McDonald's CEO came out with this video, but it looks like he's never eaten a burger in his life.
Well,
so they just wanted to poke fun of him.
Didn't he say the product? Not
he called it a product. He didn't call it like this food, this item. He wasn't relatable. He was one of the people.
So weird. He's probably vegan or something.
Anyway, the burger chain, Wendy's, by the way, I was saying they always win. They just announced a $100,000 work from home gig. The job is Wendy's chief tasting officer. Yes. The job post is as petty as it gets, and I love it. Do you hate your job? Are you too iconic to be opening PDFs for your booze? For the requirement, a human mouth, no AI, a pulse, opinions, creativity.
type of plays. He was essentially relegated to a number 3 type of role behind a number 3 or number 4 type of role behind Adunze, behind maybe even Burden, behind Colston Loveland at the end of the year. So with that contract, getting paid that much money, I think the Bears are ecstatic to be able to trade that contract away, and not only trade him away, but get a second-round pick, which is extremely valuable in today's day and age. So I think this gets an A+ for Ryan Poles getting this move done and getting that contract off the books.
Just clearing up space for the Bears to go out and get Max Crosby. Give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the first things I thought of when they cleared, they made that trade. They cleared up a ton of space to get a second-round pick, which could be used as ammo in a potential Max Crosby trade. And also, they could clear a ton of cap space by either cutting Tremaine Edmonds or including him in a trade package for Max Crosby as well.
That does it for our Toyota Talks here. Stick with us. We're back with more after this break.
If you want total health care from a provider you trust,
hi, Blair. Hi.
Right in the palm of your hand, if you want soup, sweatpants, and 0 in-person contact, if you want wellness wherever, our virtual primary care delivers with great website manner.
No worries.
So choose your doctor from our profiles and enjoy the healthiest online relationship you've ever had. House calls have evolved. Advocate Healthcare.
A barbershop has long been more than a place for a haircut. It's where stories are shared, wisdom is passed down, and truly community is built. For more than 3 decades, Larry Roberts Jr. has been part of that tradition, turning a skill he discovered as a teen into a career.
One of the most meaningful moments in his life had nothing to do with business. It happened quietly during a haircut inside the home of civil rights icon Jesse Jackson. Tia Ewing has the story.
I would say work on that swirl a little bit more, though.
For more than 3 decades, Larry Roberts Jr. has built more than a business. The barber turned entrepreneur has built a legacy.
I have 12 barber school licenses, so 12 barber schools, including the jails and the juvenile, and I have shops in 2 Walmart locations.
But the journey didn't begin with 12 schools. It started with a 13-year-old boy from Chicago who knew exactly what he wanted.
Let's talk about how we got here. When did you start cutting hair? How old were you?
I started cutting hair when I was 13 years old. I told my parents this is what I wanted to do. So at 17, I went to barber school. I was still a senior in high school.
Before middle school was over, he had already found his calling. Before most teenagers were thinking about careers, he was building one. And as his name grew, so did the rooms he was invited into. Not every haircut happened inside a barbershop. Some clients required privacy, trust, and discretion.
We have to touch everybody. Being a celebrity barber, servicing a lot of different clients, and you just never ever know the people who are looking at you, because they had to call me and ask me to cut the Reverend's hair.
One of the most defining moments of Robert's life happened quietly inside the home of civil rights icon Reverend Jesse Jackson. It would be the last time he ever cut his hair. A photo captured the moment, one that would mean even more later.
I was the last person to cut his hair, before he, transitioned. Definitely was an honor for me. I kind of kissed him on the top of his head, and told him I loved him, and he grabbed my hand. This particular time, he held it a little bit longer, I would say, and I just kind of felt something different at that time.
Roberts grew up listening to Jackson's speeches at Operation Push, hearing chants.
In a barbershop, we listen to that push, I am somebody and all of that, so, I go way back as it relates to that.
Those words stayed with Roberts.
What kind of impact did those messages have on you?
Well, the impact that they had on me is having a school on the 79th Street, having businesses and schools in the Wild Hundreds that I've been, around this area for almost 30 years now. Hearing him speak and talk about certain things gave me more empathy and compassion for the people that come in, asking for a job. It just kind of gave me more empathy and compassion for helping people outside of the $2 or $3, not just giving them a job or not just giving them $5 or $10, but what can I do in order to help you to be self-sustainable?
That compassion he learned decades ago is now taking physical shape. A brand new ground-up trade school, part of his Larry's Barbershop brand, rising from the soil of Chicago's Washington Heights neighborhood.
So you see how it's graduated right there? Yep. You want that to be able to graduate all the way from here.
For the past year, Robert served as Jackson's barber, and with that came an up-close and personal view as Jackson's health slowly declined.
What made you know that was the last time?
I think it was like a vibe, because when I was turning to walk away, they pretty much said, hey, the Reverend wants you. And that's when he reached out his hand and I grabbed his hand and he kind of held it really, really tight. And something seemed different, right? But this particular time I kind of, hugged him, and it was kind of that interaction just kind of let me know, maybe the time was nearing.
The haircut didn't come with a price tag, because for Larry Roberts Jr., being in the room with Reverend Jesse Jackson wasn't about money. It was about service, honoring a man whose voice lifted generations for a lifetime.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If they would have tried to give me anything, I would have left it behind or whatever, because you couldn't pay me, because they could have called anybody else to service this man. They could have called anybody else, but they called me, and it was definitely an honor. It was my pleasure, and it was definitely a joy to be able to service him.
Roberts will attend Jackson's private home going Saturday. Of course, we will carry the full service from the House of Hope tomorrow. Two Chicago pastors, Charles Jenkins and Charlie Dates, will lead the funeral. Former Presidents Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, and Joe Biden will be in attendance. Our coverage right here on Fox Chicago starts at 9 tomorrow morning. But Sylvia and Terrence, definitely a different perspective to hear from someone that was literally so close to the late Reverend Jesse Jackson.
What an honor for him, and I'm sure he's going to cherish that for the rest of his life, and that picture will be prominent in his home.
For sure.
Yeah, very nice. Thanks, Kia. We have more coming up, including details on a new top dog of animal control.
Tomorrow will feel like spring, but with warm temperatures, comes increased chances of storms. Emily has the full forecast when we come back.
These orange days.
All right, Mother Nature, I don't know.
The sunshine.
Cool shot.
Yeah, it is actually. See, and I was about to rag on Mother Nature again.
Just trying to break through.
What a nice view, right? That was such a nice little surprise.
That was for all of us.
Look at him tilting the camera for us.
That's nice.
Yes, it is nice.
It's very
Does
dramatic.
that mean we get to see it tomorrow?
Well, you know, we could see some sunshine tomorrow too, but it's going to be in and out of the cloud cover, very similar to what we're seeing out there right now. But yes, gorgeous shot. You know, that boosted the spirits a little bit.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, it did.
Doesn't take much these days.
All right, severe weather outlook for you. This is kind of our first potential go around of the year and the season so far. But the Storm Prediction Center does have portions of the area in a slight risk that is highlighted in yellow here. Level 2 of 5, level 1 of 5 in the marginal risk. So what does all of that mean? Basically, it means that scattered strong to severe thunderstorms are going to be possible for those of us that are highlighted in the slight risk and isolated chance in the marginal risk. This is for tomorrow. And there's going to be a couple rounds that are going to be possible, but I'm not convinced that we're going to be seeing strong to severe thunderstorms in the morning. So there's going to be a round of storms tomorrow morning around mid-morning through early afternoon, but there is a chance that we could be seeing some storms developing later in the afternoon. Now, if that happens, Then I think it's looking like we could be potentially seeing damaging winds. And then there is an isolated tornado risk. You can see here that's highlighted in the 2% area. So this is a low end chance for us. We really need everything to come together just perfectly in order to get some of those strong to severe thunderstorms. So it's not a slam dunk forecast at this point, but for those of you, if you do have plans tomorrow, make sure you have ways of receiving those severe weather alerts just to be on the safe side. Satellite and radar, we're starting to see a couple breaks in the cloud cover, but a lot of us still dealing with some areas of fog too, especially closer to the lakefront. We still have that dense fog advisory that's remaining in effect for Lake County, Illinois, as well as Cook County until 6 a.m. tomorrow. And then in Lake and Porter County in northwest Indiana, that's going to be lasting until 9 p.m. this evening. Futurecast, here comes the warm front for tomorrow, and that's going to be, again, bringing in a chance for showers and thunderstorms in the morning. If we're able to get some storms to develop during the afternoon into the early evening hours, those are the ones that I'm a little more concerned about becoming strong or severe. But again, we should be able to break into at least a little bit of sunshine here or there tomorrow between those storms coming through. Cold front, that's going to come through going into Saturday morning. And we're going to notice the temperatures dropping as well. So Saturday morning, I wouldn't be surprised if temperatures are still in the low 60s, but then we will be dropping into the 50s during the day. Rain showers moving on out of here, and will be nice and sunny during the afternoon. That's going to set the tone for the rest of your weekend. For tonight, 42, we will have east-southeasterly winds, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tomorrow, a high of 70. And then remember, falling temps during the day on Saturday. Sunday, lots of sun with a high of 61, 69 degrees, partly cloudy on Monday. Then Tuesday and Wednesday, we have a chance of rain returning and much colder temperatures by Wednesday and Thursday of next week. We'll be right back.
Chicago's three biggest animal groups just teamed up to unveil new programs and back the mayor's pick for animal care and control director.
Yeah, they say they felt the gathering was necessary after Susan Capello was named executive director of the CACC. Capello was at today's news conference joined by Pause Chicago, Anti-Cruelty Society, and Treehouse. Before her appointment, she'd spent 3 years as acting director before she officially got the job on February 12th. But several aldermen signed a letter demanding the mayor launch a national search instead, claiming high euthanasia rates and shelter conditions that neglect and endanger dogs, cats, and volunteers. But the organizations represented today back Capello and say those aldermen have no idea what they're talking about.
The challenges that Sue faces at ACC are structural and resource driven rather than a matter of leadership. Sue's done a great job with life-saving despite all of these challenges. Chicago operates on a $7.7 million budget in 2025. And thanks to Mayor Johnson, he has increased it for 2026 by $700,000. Comparable major cities average $26 million a year. Chicago ranks the last funding and the last per capita funding in the country, despite having the third largest population.
That was Paula Faceas with Pause Chicago, and she says aldermen need to be educated on how the system works. Today, they also announced a new program that will provide social workers at CACC to help families and animals. They say these new programs under Capello's leadership will continue to bring the euthanasia rates in our city down.
Appreciate you spending some time with us on First at 4.
5 o'clock news will start right after this national break.
Good evening, I'm Bill Malugin, and this is your Fox News Report. Kristi Noem is out as Secretary of Homeland Security. President Trump firing Noem today and nominating Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin to replace her. Noem faced mounting bipartisan criticism over immigration enforcement and DHS spending. Mullin will still have to be confirmed by the U.S. Senate.
I'm here to enforce the policies that Congress passed, and right now I'm part of it, but once I make that transition, my focus is to keep the homeland secure.
Strikes in Iran continuing nearly a week into Operation Epic Fury. The Pentagon says it has almost total control over Iranian airspace, hitting more than 2,000 targets. But questions remain over who will lead Iran. President Trump reportedly not in favor of the slain Ayatollah's son and saying he should help pick the new leader. Some Americans who are stranded in the Middle East are back home tonight. The State Department saying they've assisted in thousands of evacuations since the start of Epic Fury. Secretary Rubio says his top priority is helping Americans get home. And the House is looking at a new online safety act aimed at expanding parental controls and requiring age verification for apps.